96% of people who use ChatGPT every single day are leaving the best features completely untouched. Not because they're not smart, but because nobody showed them where to look. I'm talking about features and techniques that will cut the time you spend on emails, reports, research, and creative work by at least half. And I can prove it. In the next 10 minutes, you're going to learn how to write prompts that actually work, how to use ChatGPT's memory and custom instructions to make it feel like a personal assistant who already knows you, and how to chain prompts together so you get genuinely useful output instead of generic garbage. And at the end, I'll reveal one technique that almost nobody talks about, a specific prompting method borrowed from professional AI researchers that makes ChatGPT's answers dramatically sharper. Most people stumble across it by accident years in, if ever. You'll have it in 10 minutes. Let's get into it. The single biggest mistake people make with ChatGPT is treating it like a search engine. They type a vague question, get a vague answer, and think, okay, this thing is pretty good, I guess. But ChatGPT isn't Google. It's a conversation. And the quality of your output is almost entirely determined by the quality of your input. Here's what I mean. If you type "write me an email to my client," ChatGPT will produce something so generic it's basically useless. But if you type "write a professional but warm follow-up email to a client named Sarah who runs a mid-sized architecture firm. We met at a conference last Tuesday. I want to suggest a 30-minute call this week and reference the conversation we had about sustainable building materials. Now you're getting something you could actually send. The framework here is called role, context, and format. Give ChatGPT a role to play, the context it needs, and the format you want the output in. Role, act as an experienced copywriter. Context, I'm launching a fitness app targeting men over 40. Format, give me 5 headline options, each under 10 words. That 3-part structure alone will improve your results by an order of magnitude. And here's where it gets even more interesting, because the role you assign matters more than most people think. Assigning ChatGPT a specific expert persona doesn't just change its tone. It genuinely changes the depth and accuracy of the response. Stanford researchers studying large language models found that persona priming significantly shifts the distribution of outputs toward domain-specific knowledge. In plain English, if you tell ChatGPT it's a senior financial analyst, it will respond like one. Try this right now. Open a new chat. Type, "You are a senior McKinsey consultant with 20 years of experience in operational efficiency. I'm going to describe my small business and I want you to identify the 3 biggest inefficiencies and suggest fixes." Then describe your business. You'll be stunned at the quality of the response compared to just asking, "How do I improve my business?" Did you know that the temperature of ChatGPT's responses, how creative versus how precise they are, can actually be influenced just by your wording? Phrases like "be precise," "avoid speculation," or "give me only verified information" push the model toward more conservative, factual outputs. You don't need API access or developer tools. Plain English does it. Quick note here, if you're finding this useful, subscribing literally takes 2 seconds and it helps me keep making videos like this every week. There's no fluff on this channel, just real, actionable stuff. Now, back to making ChatGPT work for you. Let's talk about custom instructions, because this is one of the most underused features on the platform. If you're on ChatGPT Plus, which is $20 a month, you have access to this. But even on the free tier, you can set persistent instructions that shape every single conversation. Here's how to use it properly. Go to your profile, click Custom Instructions, and you'll see 2 boxes. The first asks, "What would you like ChatGPT to know about you?" The second asks, "How would you like ChatGPT to respond?" Most people either leave these blank or write something vague like, "I like detailed answers." That's a missed opportunity. Instead, treat this like onboarding a new employee. In the first box, tell it who you are and what you do. Something like, "I'm a freelance marketing consultant who works primarily with B2B SaaS companies. My clients are usually Series A to Series C startups. I spend most of my time writing strategy documents, client proposals, and LinkedIn content." In the second box, tell it exactly how you want responses, always be concise. Use bullet points where possible. Skip the preamble, don't start responses with phrases like great question or certainly. Give me direct, professional answers. Now every conversation you have starts from that foundation. ChatGPT already knows your context. You don't have to re-explain yourself every single time. This alone saves the average professional user about 15 to 20 minutes a day. That's over 90 hours a year. Just from filling in 2 text boxes. But here's where it gets really interesting, because custom instructions are just the beginning of personalization. Let's talk about prompt chaining. This is the technique that separates people who get decent results from ChatGPT from people who get extraordinary results. The concept is simple. Instead of asking ChatGPT one big question and hoping for a perfect answer, you break your task into a sequence of smaller prompts, each one building on the last. This works because it mirrors how expert humans actually think through complex problems. Step by step. Not all at once. Here's a real example. Say you need to write a detailed blog post about climate technology for your company. A bad approach is typing, "Write me a 1,500-word blog post about climate tech." A great approach is a chain. Start with, list the 5 most compelling angles for a blog post about emerging climate technology, written for a business executive audience. Pick the angle you like. Then, now outline that article with 6 sections and suggest a compelling hook for each. Approve the outline. Then, write the introduction and first 2 sections using this outline. Review it. Adjust. Continue. You end up with dramatically better content because you're staying in control at every stage. You're not handing the wheel to AI and hoping, you're collaborating with it. And crucially, you're catching mistakes early rather than at the end of a long, wrong output. Here's a pattern interrupt for you. The longest recorded ChatGPT conversation ever publicly shared was over 70 hours of continuous dialogue. 70 hours. The person was using it to help process grief. Not to write marketing copy. Not to code an app. To process grief. This tool is already woven into how humans think. The question is just whether you're using it strategically. Now, the thing I promised you at the start. The technique borrowed from AI researchers that makes everything sharper. It's called chain of thought prompting. And it's not complicated. You simply add one phrase to the end of almost any prompt. Think through this step by step before giving me your final answer. That's it. That's the technique. But here's why it's so powerful. When you include that instruction, you trigger a mode where ChatGPT externalizes its reasoning process before committing to a conclusion. It doesn't just output an answer, it works through the problem. And working through problems, as any cognitive scientist will tell you, leads to far fewer errors and far more nuanced conclusions. Google DeepMind published research in 2022 showing that chain of thought prompting improved performance on complex reasoning tasks by up to 40% compared to standard prompting. 40%. On hard problems. Just by adding one sentence. Use this when you're asking ChatGPT to analyze something, make a recommendation, debug code, evaluate a business decision, or solve any multi-step problem. It won't always visibly show its thinking, but it changes the quality of the final output significantly. Test it yourself. Ask the same analytical question twice, once normally, once with think through this step by step, and compare. Right. Let's land this. Here are 5 things you can do today, right now, with 0 extra tools. 1. Rewrite every vague prompt using role, context, format. Never send a naked question again. 2. Set up your custom instructions properly, treat it like onboarding a brilliant new assistant who needs to know your world. 3. Use persona priming. Start any expert-level conversation with "You with years of experience in." 4. Chain your prompts on complex tasks. Break big outputs into a sequence of smaller, controlled steps. 5. Add think through this step by step to any analytical or multi-part question. Every single time. These aren't hacks. They're fundamentals. And once they're habits, you'll wonder how you ever used this tool without them. If this video saved you time or gave you something genuinely useful, subscribe. I post every week, and the next video is on using ChatGPT for deep research, how to use it alongside tools like Perplexity and Notebook LM to produce research that would have taken you days, in about an hour. It's coming next week and you don't want to miss it. One question before you go, drop it in the comments. What's the one task you're going to try these prompting techniques on first? I read every comment and I'll reply to as many as I can. See you in the next one.